welcome back to Soul Reaver 2. And look at that font far away, it is important. So, now is the time for Raziel to finally get into the retreat of the legendary vampire, the Reaver Guardian Janos Audron. But he has no wings, so he has to find another way. Which is through the Spectral Realm, of course. What else? And this, by the way, marks the last time when you are required by the game to go into the Spectral Realm. And as such, I ask everyone to place their bets on whether I will manage to finish the game without having to shift to Spectral Realm once. Those of you who have played this game recently or just remember it very well know that there is one particular point later, a bit later at this point, where all the skills and all the exploits in the world are completely devoid of any meaning. Will I be able to go through that part? I don't know. I have played ahead, I have succeeded, but whether I will manage to do it on camera, I don't know. In order to get to Janos, Raziel needs to solve this sequence of puzzles, which feels a lot like an elemental forge, and it is essentially the same element. Well, the Soul Reaver 2, the game, it's very blocky. You have sequences of backtracking, you have sequences of fighting, you have cutscenes, and you have huge puzzle sections. This is one of the puzzle sections and the only one that is not an elemental forge. So in the context of this game, it feels like an elemental forge. This is the first element of this puzzle, and this is the one I am not really skipping because this part is important. You can get stuck here for a long while if you were not paying attention to your surroundings before going underwater and entering the Spectral Realm. Because what is required here is that font, this is where we're going right now, and it is absolutely necessary to use it in order to disable that sentry eye, otherwise it's going to fry you. Also, that puzzle, that small section of a puzzle is actually the introduction of the mechanic, because, by the way, fall damage. The introduction of the mechanic of how the remainder of Janos' retreat puzzle will be solved. It will all include filling basins with blood and carrying around lots of goblets, cups, chalices, you name it. I will call them chalices, because I want to. Once we get to the puzzle proper, which will well, once Raziel gets to the puzzle proper, there will be a cutscene playing, and after that cutscene, I will put the skip button for maybe 10 to 15 seconds, and I will allow those of you who do not want to see any puzzleage to skip it instantly. Plus, in addition, I will well, it's the same drill as the Dark Forge. I will also put a timestamp in the description, which will allow you to fast forward directly to Raziel meeting Janos if you decide that you are simply tired of seeing this during the solution of the puzzle itself. Because this puzzle is very long. If we include this first element and the cutscene, it will actually take longer in total than the Light Forge. And that, if you think about it, is pretty damn insane. And it's even more insane that I accidentally jumped off while knowing that I need to go up on that stairs. I am keeping it in. Because I can. I really like this aesthetic.
The mountain's interior was hollow, I discovered, and graced with soaring architecture unique to its creators. As with the outer facade, these balconies and galleries could only be reached by those gifted with flight. With only my ruined wings to carry me, this towering labyrinth seemed impassable, while the object of my quest lay just beyond my grasp. For here, suspended at the apex of the chamber, was the threshold that surely led to the great vampire himself. I didn't know whether Janos Audron was the monster depicted in the stronghold, or one of the noble creatures memorialized among the ruins of the ancient vampires. And I didn't care. Demon or angel, he alone held the key to my destiny.
And this commences the puzzle proper. This entire chamber, I suppose you could call it, is consisted, yes, great grammar. It consists of 3 layers, and there is a progressive increase in complexity and the result difficulty of the puzzle with each new layer, with each new level. The first one and the second one really is very easy, whereas the third and the final one is quite complex and confusing. And I could have sworn, to be honest, that I was screwing up somewhere on the third layer in the last third of the video. But as I was looking through the footage, I could not identify that part where I was screwing up, so I planned to do some minor edits, but as a result there won't be any. And just like in the Vampire Forges, there are thralls here. Yep, because they are the ones who carry keys to doors. As usual, nothing new here. So it really is the same drill as the Elemental Forges. And now that I have really said pretty much everything that I have to say about this forge, skip. I said before how I really like this aesthetic, all this ice. Not the blood part, but the ice part. It's so snowy and sterile, and I am one of the few people who really likes this kind of stuff. I'm honestly not sure why, but I am a weird person. I like the light from fluorescent lamps, this bluish white light. I prefer winter to summer. I just can't stand temperatures above 25 degrees Celsius. I always mean Celsius because I don't speak Fahrenheit, I'm European. Yeah, my affinity to North probably affects this. Oh, and another thing is that every time Raziel does anything in this, I keep trying to say forge, in this puzzle, every single time there will be these long and slow and dull cutscenes showing, or trying to show, because they don't really work, what is Raziel supposed to do next. And they will take up in total, I think somewhere around 3 or maybe even 4 minutes of this entire video. And there's no way to skip them. All the cutscenes, all the... I wanted to say FMVs, but there's only one FMV. The cutscenes in this game are unskippable. All of them, regardless of the length, regardless of whether you are watching them for the first or for the 100th time. Nope. Also, I really like how the game requires you to use all, basically every single skill that is now in your possession. It requires you to destroy the obstacles with the Air Reaver. It requires you to use the Light Reaver to make these crystals scintillate. You are required to use the Dark Reaver to disable the sentry eyes. You have to do everything, all with one purpose, which is to fill up some basins with some blood. that is apparently infinite once it reaches the basin. Yeah, this Sentry Eye fried me once when I was playing this ahead. And that Sentry Eye is actually harmless, but it does generate that obnoxious noise every single time you pass near it when you're behind it. So it cannot kill you, but it does detect you. There is a part of me that wants to start talking about Janos, but there's absolutely no reality in which it can happen. I will have to... Well, if I don't want to spoil things, and I don't want to do that, I will have to wait until after we have met him. But hell, there will be a lot to talk about, because he drops some important information. Some of it immediately obvious, some of it not so much. And the latter is mostly what I will be talking about, because what's the point in just rephrasing what's obvious and what's said in the game itself. I want to also comment on what am I doing at any given moment in time, but I found myself realizing that I can't. I don't remember what I was doing here. And, well, I will remember what I was doing. I was filling up bases with blood, but I don't remember the exact order of the things I was doing. Because it all kinda turned into a single mush, with the only landmarks being these basins. But then again, this thing doubles as a walkthrough, and walkthroughs are normally without commentary at all. So I suppose if you're going to play this yourself after watching this, why would you? Because I'm playing this specifically so you don't have to endure the gameplay. You may use this if you're stuck, but you'll have to actually minimize the game to tray and look at the relevant parts of the video and not just listen to me. By the way, Kieran Walker suggested that the easiest way to use these updraft mechanisms is to hold the autoface button during gliding, because that then Raziel's moves a lot less forward and more downward. And fly around them until you gain enough height to get wherever you need. And it does work, so thank you. Again, because you are also the guy who... Christ. What was it? Who told me how to put down weapons and items. Yeah, this is the third level already, and if you understand what is going on, then I envy you, because even though I played through this once the day before recording, and once when I was recording this, and I'm commentating and I'm looking at this during the same day, I have absolutely no idea what is going on. This section would have been so much better if only it was a little bit shorter. And this is the point where I fail, not in terms of puzzle solving, not in terms of realizing what to do, where to go, but in terms of gliding. And honestly, there will be more of this in the future. There was more of this in the past, and I've reached the point where I no longer blame myself. I now blame the spacebar on my keyboard, because this is retarded. I really am pressing the spacebar. Oh, by the way, speaking of the bets on whether I will survive throughout the entire way towards the end of the game, this is, of course, this includes me killing everything in my path, because a lot of the, well, in the very end of the game, just in case you don't know, there is a boss rush. There aren't any actual bosses in the game, but in the very end you will have a huge rush of enemies where every step of the way you're gonna have everything thrown at you at the same time. And some of these parts will be challenging, sometimes they will lock you down, but sometimes they will let you just run past the enemies. I am not going to do that. I am going to kill everything that stands in my way, even if it doesn't stand in my way and I can simply walk past it. I believe we are almost done. Only the very last basin is left that leads to that door behind which Raziel will find Janos. I dread to think how long does it take to someone who who has a harder time in general just noticing things and looking around and finding what to do and making the connections. And this is the end. And now we are going to have a long, long cutscene. Because Janos has a lot of stuff to tell us.
Janos Audron?
It is heartening after all these years to hear my name spoken without contempt. Raziel? My child, what have they done to you?
I have been dragged through hell and back. All it seems to reach this moment. But I don't yet know why.
For thousands of years I have waited, alone here, losing faith. At the time of the binding, 9 guardians were called to serve the pillars, and I was summoned as the 10th guardian, the keeper of the Reaver, the weapon of our salvation. Over time, our race died out, until I alone remained, sustained only by my obligation to you and by my guardianship of the blade.
And the other 9? Why did their guardianship not sustain them?
I don't know. As our race dwindled, the humans prospered. I have watched over the centuries as our history faded into myth and finally receded altogether. The humans have forgotten us entirely and claimed the pillars for themselves, wholly ignorant of their true purpose. To them, I am merely a devil, the origin of their vampire plague.
Why would the pillars summon human guardians then, if they are meant to be served by vampires?
The pillars choose their guardians from birth, Raziel, and vampires are no longer born. This is the crux of our dilemma, and this is the terrible irony. With their vampire purge, the members of the Circle have assaulted the very architects of the pillars they are sworn to protect. They have embarked on a treacherous path. With every vampire they kill, the humans are slitting their own throats. They know I'm up here, beyond their reach, and it terrifies them. You can see how they flaunt their kills to torment me. Or perhaps simply to lure me out. They have this foolish notion that destroying me will somehow topple our entire bloodline. Thankfully, we're not that fragile.
I have seen them mustering their forces in the village below.
Yes. I don't know what they're plotting, but I fear our time may be bitterly short.
Mankind seems to have brought you only torment and grief. You must hate them.
They fear what they don't understand, and they despise what they fear. But no, I do not hate them.
Vorador does.
He has suffered much. He cannot forgive them.
Should they be forgiven?
They don't understand what they're doing. They are simply unenlightened and vulnerable to manipulation.
So, it's all true then, what Kain and Vorador have told me. I really am some kind of unholy vampire messiah.
Unholy? No. Messiah, perhaps.
I don't like that word. It smells of martyrdom.
Raziel, Your role in this world's destiny is more crucial and more benevolent than you've allowed yourself to believe. Your journey will not be easy. Dark powers are allied against you. But I think you already know this. You appear to have been cruelly tested. The binding must be secured, Raziel. The pillars are the lock.
And the Reaver is the key.
Yes.
The Reaver is here. Why do I feel nothing?
The most formidable weapon ever forged by our swordsmiths. They infused the blade with vampiric energy, empowering the Reaver to drain our enemies of their precious lifeblood.
As Janos presented the blade, an inexplicable sense of dread crept over me, more palpable than anything I'd felt before. I was at once horribly repelled by the sword, and yet irresistibly compelled to touch it, to take it up. Please, take it away from me.
I fear you have been followed. You must save yourself, Raziel.
Janos! No! My surroundings whirled sickeningly, and I found myself transported safely away from the ambush to an adjacent chamber. Janos had delivered me from the Sarafan, selflessly forfeiting his own safety to preserve my life. And now I feared that my newfound mentor would be slaughtered by the very crusaders I had so recently revered. The irony pierced me, and with dawning horror, I realized that I had been duped by Mobius from the beginning. For the Sarafan had simply followed the path I gullibly blazed through this sanctuary, and had arrived bearing Mobius's staff. Thus armed, they had Janos at their mercy. Through the door, I could hear them battling, less than a dozen paces away. But it may as well have been 1,000 miles, for this barrier was sealed by elemental forces I did not possess. It seemed Janos had conveyed me into the heart of the fire shrine. I thought perhaps if I could galvanize the forge and imbue the Reaver in time, I might have a slim chance of saving Janos from his grisly fate.
Oh, are there things to talk about. But we have the entire Fire Forge to do so. And as such, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.